So I'm going to start with the 6-minute version, and then I'm going to go back and expand where I feel needed. So Rachel, go ahead and start the timer. All right. So the book of Revelation is the revelation of Jesus Christ. If we're going into the book of Revelation solely focusing on the beasts and the dragons and so on, we're going to get a marred picture of what the book of Revelation is supposed to be about. It's about Christ. So Revelation chapter 1 is John gets what I'm going to call like the big picture of who Christ is. And then later on, Christ gives each of the 7 churches a small piece of that big picture. And then, so after that, I went into the tribes of Israel. I believe that Israel has a very important role to play in revealing who Christ is. And Genesis 49, where Jacob gives them the individual prophecies, it's a picture of who Christ is. It's not a perfect picture because he's talking about humans, but still, it's a picture of who Christ is. And then the living creatures, I know we studied it before, the 4 faces, having different ways of revealing who Christ is and what he did for us. And the living creatures aren't necessarily angels. Like sometimes we think of, oh, they're before the throne of God, they must be angels, right? Not necessarily. They're more, the word used there is more like animals or beasts. But they have, basically what I'm saying is they have a different role from angels. They're not necessarily messengers, but in their being, they do carry a message. And then, so in my paper, I went into the bride versus her evil opposite, the harlot. Basically, the bride of Christ is meant to reflect who Christ is, and the harlot that rides on the dragon, she is the one that she kind of tries to imitate. I feel like the colors that she wears and so on are kind of like tabernacle colors and so on. But she's just like in a very evil way. And then basically the whole book of Revelation, there is there's all the evil stuff that happens and so on. But I would argue that the battles and all of the bad things put there, like the beast and the dragon and so on, they're put there for the purpose that Christ can have his victory, so that Christ can show his victory over them. So in all of the battles and things, we know how it ends. We know that Christ has already declared the victory. It is written, Christ wins. And so the whole book of Revelation, it just shows it's about his victory. It's about who Christ is, even throughout all of the messiness and the chaos. How much time was that?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, you guys. All right. So, with the churches, I'm not going to go into all the 7 churches because I realize that's a lot. It's okay. Sit down. Okay, so I'm going to go over my 2 favorites, or they were my 2 favorites to study. They were the biggest blessing to me. The first one is Thyatira, and then the other one is Philadelphia. So, to the Church of Thyatira, Jesus introduces himself as the Son of God, the one who has eyes like a flame of fire and feet like burnished brass. I specifically went and studied the burnished brass part and like why would Jesus specifically say that? And I found 2 different explanations for it. One of them is that the people of Thyatira actually worshipped Apollo, who is the son of Zeus, who is the sun god. So basically, Jesus could have been saying that he shines brighter than Apollo by saying that he has feet like burnished brass. The other explanation is that the word Thyatira means altars or continuous sacrifices. So it was common for Christians to be burned in the furnace for their faith as martyrs. So Jesus, by saying he has burnished brass feet, may have been showing his support for Christians who were burned in the furnace. I have a bit of a problem with these 2 explanations. Basically, the problem is that in Ezekiel 1 verse 7, the living creatures that are shown in Ezekiel's vision they are described as having feet that sparkle like burnished brass. So basically, the living creatures, they wouldn't have had a reason to have to shine brighter. Oh, can you guys hear me? I think I'm okay, good. So the living creatures, they wouldn't have necessarily had a reason to outshine other gods just because they didn't claim to be gods. Jesus was claiming to be one with God, and so would have had a reason to like outshine Apollo in a sense. But the okay, so also about the showing support for those who burn in the furnace. Basically the only people who were burned in the furnace in Ezekiel's time were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So like possibly it was written just for them. But I actually have a different opinion a little bit. What that burnished? What? No, you can stop. Okay. Sorry, Rachel was still timing me for 6 minutes. Okay. So where was I? Yeah, the living creatures and brass feet. Okay, so what if the brass feet that Jesus wears is the gospel of peace? Isaiah 52 verse 7 says, "How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of him who brings good news, who proclaims peace, who brings glad tidings of good things, and who proclaims salvation." And then later on, when Jesus came to earth, he was in the synagogue and he read from a different portion of Isaiah. "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor, sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and to set at liberty those who are oppressed." So Jesus is wearing the gospel of peace. So in Ephesians 6:15, when it says, "Shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace," it's not necessarily saying put on these little sandals. In the spirit, you may be putting on the white hot burnished brass feet of Jesus Christ. So now imagine what that would look like, where in Romans 16:26 or 16:20, I can't read my own writing. Okay, it says, "The God of peace will crush Satan under your feet." So imagine what that would look like with the burnished brass white hot feet, the God of peace crushing Satan. It's just a very powerful picture. So the other church I was going to cover today is Philadelphia. So Jesus introduces himself as the one who holds the key of David. So the key of David. So I think we've probably all heard preachings on. So it says the key of David, the one who opens and no one can shut, and the one who shuts and no one can open. I think we've all probably heard messages on this. At least I have lots of times talking about like opening and shutting things in the spirit realm, binding and loosing, and so on. And some people even use it talking about like open doors of blessing and whatever. So the key of David, it was actually a prophecy from Isaiah 22 about Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah. So during Isaiah, the people of Israel were in sin. They were living in sin, and God was proclaiming judgment on them. And so God was proclaiming judgment, and then Isaiah makes this prophecy of a man named Eliakim who would take over the throne of Israel. So when it says he holds the key of David, usually that means like reigning over Israel. It has to do with Israel and the reign over Israel. So Eliakim would take over, and he would be a righteous ruler. He would rule with honor and authority, and his reign would be a time of rest and a time of cutting off burdens. So later on, Jesus comes into this world full of sin. Judgment has been declared, and he says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavily burdened, and I will give you rest." So that whole connection between the key of David and the reign of Eliakim. That was something I hadn't studied before, and I thought it was very interesting. I actually never heard a preaching on that. So yeah, that was interesting to study. I think I don't know.
We can hear you. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Sorry, the video froze for a second. All right. Okay, so Israel and revealing Christ. Do you mind if I share my screen real quick? I wanted to share that chart with them.
Please do.
Okay. So this chart is it's the Genesis 49 prophecies, and then the other side here. Let me share. There we go. All right. Can you all see it? Okay, good. So on the left side you have the Genesis 49 prophecies, and on the left side Genesis 49 prophecies, right side how Jesus fulfilled those. So okay, so you're going to notice a couple of the tribes are actually missing. Dan and Ephraim, and there's another one. Was there another one? I think there's 3 that are missing. Anyways, the ones that are missing are basically, they're missing because they intermarried with the other tribes, and they were committing idol worship and things like that. And God actually, even in the book of, I think it's Second Chronicles, they don't even make it into some of the lists there because of all the intermarriage and all the intermarriage, all the idol worship, and so on. All right. So Judah is the lion, and it talks about how there will always be a ruler on the throne of Judah. If you want to all turn to Genesis 49 and follow along, I didn't perfectly word it according to the scripture. I worded it in a way that it would make sense for the other side. So if you want to open to Genesis 49 and follow along, it's up to you. The wording is a little bit different. So, okay, Judah, the lion, eternal rule. And then it says Jesus is the lion of Judah. He's the king forever. Reuben, firstborn, unstable like water. Obviously, this part is a bad thing, but later on, okay, so Jesus Christ, firstborn among many brethren, voice like the sound of water, life-giving water, and so on. So Gad is a triumphant victor, although trampled at first. Jesus was bruised and crushed, but he became the triumphant victor. Bread from Asher is rich. Jesus is the bread of heaven, or the bread of life. So you can see all of those. And then I have the scriptures all down here. A lot of these verses are from Psalms and different places too. So some of them are talking about God, not necessarily Jesus, but since Jesus and the Father are one, we're gonna, okay. What am I doing next? For the 4 living creatures. So I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. All right, so the 4 living creatures, like I said, they are not necessarily angels. They're not messengers. Their place is more in front of the throne, in the throne room of God. So the 4 faces are lion, ox, man, and eagle. The lion representing power and authority. Jesus is the lion of the tribe of Judah, and kings always came out of the tribe of Judah. Okay, the ox was used as a work animal. So like they would use oxen for plowing and things like that, for carrying heavy loads. So the ox represents servanthood. The man represents humanity, taking on human nature, and the eagle is a creature of the sky and flying above the storm. So, okay, the lion, Jesus, lion of the tribe of Judah, ox, servanthood, Jesus came not to be served, but to serve, right? And then Jesus, okay, so the man taking on human nature, Jesus was God, but became flesh. And then the eagle. So eagle is the creature of the sky, flies above the storm. Jesus is the ruler of the heavens, and he is above all. There's a parallel in the Old Testament of the tribes that were around the tabernacle. So you'd have the tabernacle in the middle, and then you have the Levites camped around it. And then on the one side, you'd have Judah. Their banner was a lion banner. On the other side, you'd have Ephraim. Their banner was an ox. On the other side, you have Reuben. Their banner was a man. And on the other side, you would have Dan, and their banner was an eagle. So it was a prophecy, I think, or like a parallel on earth of things in the spirit. Some people compare these to the church ages. So the lion representing the power of the early church, the ox representing the dark ages when Catholicism was leading. In Catholicism, you have to work for your salvation, hence why they're the ox. So then after that, humanism, the age of reason, and so on, glorifying oneself. So that would be the man. And then eagle would be the prophetic age. I guess now would be considered the prophetic. So that is the four living creatures and how they reveal Christ. Do you want to see? Maybe I should show you the bride and the harlot chart. Let me see. Let me open it first, and then I will share it with you. Okay. So with this one, I didn't prepare much to talk about it, but it is okay. Can you all see it? So you have the bride, the harlot, and then we have Old Testament. All right, good. Okay, so the bride. Here are the foundations. So this is the description of the New Jerusalem. And so you have, let's see. Okay, so you have the foundations of these like different types of jewels, the gates and the pearls and so on. You can read that there, 12 gates, 12 pearls. Pearls are the only precious stone that are acquired by the death of the creature that makes them, thus making pearls a symbol of sacrifice. The city is entered by Christ's sacrifice. The one thing I wanted to point out, like a big difference, is the bride or the New Jerusalem honors the martyrs and honors the blood of those whose blood has been spilled for the sake of Christ. The harlot is drunk on the blood of the martyrs. It's a totally like evil opposite, like the evil twin kind of. Anyways, and then the different numbers. I did not go into a study of like what the different numbers mean, but I'm sure that would be an interesting study. So I don't have much to share on that one. All right. How much time do I have left? 5 minutes. All right. So, okay. I should probably share. I had a dream a little while ago, and I think I mentioned it before in class. I'll go over it again and try it to not be too long. But basically, what happened in this dream was some of my family and I were at this like military camp thing. So we were trying to get from one side to the other, get to a certain place. So we went through, and then all these people started coming out of the buildings, and the way they were moving, it was like they were being controlled or manipulated by something. Just the way they were moving, you could just tell. So we went through and we got to the other side, and where we ended up was in front of this huge house, like a really big house. And inside the house lived a dragon. So all the people in the military camp and all the people inside the house were owned or like ruled over by the dragon, and he would like control them and so on. So we so it was our job. We were supposed to kill this dragon or yeah, slay the dragon. And I said, well, an angel came. So I knew about something that had happened before in the dream. An angel came last time and defeated the dragon. Maybe we'll have another angel come. But my mom said to me, no, God has reserved this battle for his people. So we went and we were trying to like get the dragon to come out and so on. And so we would get the dragon out and then we wouldn't be able to do anything to it. And then it would just go back inside. It was like this big game, run outside, play around and go back inside. The dragon was not fazed by it at all. But so we were basically done. We had no idea what to do next. And then I suddenly realized I knew what was going to happen next in the dream. I knew that somebody in the house was going to change sides or give her life to the Lord, and she was going to come out and slay the dragon. And all I had to do was go in and get the dragon to come out. And there was going to be this big battle, and at the last minute, she was going to come out and kill the dragon for us. And like in the dream, I knew probably I'm going to get hurt or killed or something. I didn't care. The victory was going to happen. So I started running back towards the house, And then my mom was yelling at me, "Where are you going? What are you doing?" And I turned around and I said, "Don't worry, Mom. I know how it ends." And then just started running back. We're like running towards the house. So basically, this is just an encouragement to everyone that we know how it ends. We know who has the victory. It's written. It's already done. Really. So all of the battles that we have right now, like we may lose battles sometimes, but Satan has lost the war. Um, so it's yeah, we Christ has the victory already, and so we can stand firm on that. That we know how it ends. The victory is already written, and so that's really what the book of Revelation is about. It's about Christ and what He has done and how He's revealing Himself through His people, and how He has victory over evil. And that is my paper. I think I'm going to end there.